morning, everyone. This is JDB's morning cast. Today is Friday, June 19th, 2026. Father's Day is 2 days away. Father's Day is 2 days away. So, Father's Day is this Sunday. So, I wish you a happy Father's Day to all the dads here this Sunday. So, we're so looking forward to all of that. So, let's get started. We did have breaking news in Major League Baseball. We have a home run derby rule changes. Here, so before we start the new rules, I just want to say that it's home run derby is 1 month away, and we already know home run derby is one of the biggest stage in Major League Baseball. So, we all know that at this point on, because it feels like there's gonna be changes around that time. Speaking of changes, here are the new rules that are gonna be this year. This year's home run derby. So here we go. It's still gonna be 8 participants. Top 4 advance to round 2. So here's the catch here. Your swing limit is 20. 20 swings in round 1. Round 1 will have 20 swings. That's your limit. Then second and third round, you get 15. 15 in second and final rounds. A player who homers on his last swing in a round will continue until he makes it an out or wins the round. So, if you want, here's more rules. Swing elements. Every swing counts towards a player's limit, whether it results in a home run or not. No round-ending homers. If a player hits a home run on his final allotted swing, the 20th in the run, or 15th in later rounds, his turn continues. He gets to keep swinging until he records a non-homer swing. So, here's the head-to-head semifinals. The top seed faces the 4th seed. The 2nd seed faces the 3rd seed. That's how it's going to go. And here are the tiebreakers. Ties in the first round are broken by the distance of the longest home runs. Later rounds use 3 swing offs. So the timer is no longer apply. So no more swing timers. No more home run derby swing timers. And I don't know about the timeouts, but I think they can use a timeout if they want. I'm not sure. So here's my question, which means no timer and no outs. So here's my question right now. Are you surprised that there will be no timers or no outs? I'm not that surprised because I think it's good. It's good for the rules. But the only thing is you get the swing limits. You only get the first round. You only get 20 swings. Second and final round, you get 15 swings each. Let's say if the 20th swing is not a home run, it's done. If the 20th swing has a home run, you can keep going. 15th, if the 15th swing you hit a home run, you keep going. If the 15th swing does not hit a home run, it's done. The round, the batter, the home run derby participant batter is over. So here's how it works. It'll be the first round goes 8 versus 1, 5 versus 4, 6 versus 3, and 2 versus 7. That's how this is going to go in the first round. In the second round, it goes to the higher bracket. Actually, it goes the top seed versus the worst remaining seed. It goes to second seed versus the best remaining seed. That's how this is going to go. Just like football. Let's say the football team, the number one seed in each conference has the first round bye. You have to face the worst remaining seed. Let's say if the number 2 seed, even though they changed it since 2020, number 2 seed has to host a wild card and divisional round. If you win one of those games, you can host the wild card and divisional round, maybe championship game as well. If the only the 1 seed goes down, you host two playoff games again, and in the second one you have to face the best remaining seed. That's how it's gonna go. But I do like the fact that the home run derby is gonna change up this year. Home run derby is July 13th, which is the Tuesday. Sorry, which is the Monday, my bad. Which is the Monday at, I believe, 8 Eastern on Netflix in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in Citizens Bank Park. So, home run derby is I think home run derby is less than 4 weeks away. So it's all about that, something like that. If that's gonna be the case right now. All right, let's move on to Major League Baseball. Let's go to the NFL. Let's go to Houston Texans outlook. The Texans went 12-5 last season. End up a divisional round exit once again. The Texans when I look at these rankings, offense and defensive categories from last season. Let's start with the offensive categories. Texans finished 18th in total offense. Second fewest turnovers in the NFL, which is much better. 14th in passing yards. 22nd in rushing. Third down, 23rd in third downs. But they finished the third lowest red zone touchdown percentage in the NFL, which is 30th in the NFL. So they got to get better in the red zone. The Saints were worse in that department. Scoring offense 14th in football. So, right? No, scoring offense is 13th in football. My bad. Our differential isn't that bad. So, it's not a problem. So, here are the defensive categories. Defense was great last year. They're number one in total yards allowed in the NFL. Last year, they were number one in total yards allowed in total defense. Third in takeaways last year. Sixth against the pass. Sixth best against the pass. Third most interceptions with 19 defensive interceptions. The fourth best against the run. So they give up one of the fewest touchdowns allowed in the NFL, so which is always a good sign. Here's the advanced defensive rankings. The Texans finished sixth lowest third down defense. They allowed the sixth lowest third down defense. The defense allowed the sixth lowest third down percentage in the NFL. Red zone defense, middle of the pack, 16th in football in opponents' red zone touchdown rate. They surrendered almost 59% of their touchdowns, which is middle of the pack. 16th in football. So when I look at these outlook in 2026, what is going through CJ Stroud's mind? Is he going to get his contract extension? Will you have to wait till after this season? I mean, CJ Stroud, he's not a bad quarterback. Honestly. He hasn't been really perfect at times, but he's done some good things. Either in the clutch games, in clutch time, in clutch final drives of the game. So, their defense is still elite, nonetheless. DeMeco Ryans is a defensive-minded coach. I understand that. He got to the playoffs in 3 consecutive years. He's won 2 division titles. He's won more than 10 games for the first time in his career. DeMeco Ryans becomes the first coach in Texans history to win 3 consecutive 10-plus win seasons. He went 10-7 in the first 2 seasons, 12-5 last year. So there's improvement year by year. The first year, DeMeco Ryans, this team has been impressive. Got to the playoffs, won division. Second year, shaky. They still won division. Third year, got off to a slow start. Got off to an 0-3 start. and then winning 12 of the final 14 games in the regular season. So this Texans team is almost for real. This Texans team is almost unstoppable. If they would have beat the Patriots, they would have either. I'm not sure they could beat the Broncos in the AFC Championship game. If they would have gotten to the Super Bowl because if Nix was hurt. Now the Houston Texans. I think I'm confident that the Texans will win this division, but it's not going to be easy. I said Tennessee's my top dog, but when I look at their schedule 2026, it looks interesting to me. It looks really interesting to me. Let's talk about C.J. Stroud before I review this 2026 schedule. C.J. Stroud is going to enter his fourth season, second with under Caley's offensive coordinator. Nick Caley, this is his second season as an offensive coordinator. Hopefully he'll get his head coaching job soon in the next couple of years. So, when you talk about the Texans right now, C.J. Stroud and all that stuff, you've been going at it, and you put yourself in a really, really better position. Facial situation. Now, I think C.J. Stroud his expectations is high, and hopefully he'll exceeded his expectations. All right, so let's take a look in Week 1 schedule. Week 1, Texans will face the Buffalo Bills at home. That's a loss. Week 2 against Cincinnati at home. I think that's a loss. So they're 0-2 to start the season. Then Week 3 at Indianapolis, that's a win. Week 4 against Dallas at home, that's a win. They'll be 2-2. Week 5 at Tennessee, that's a loss. Week 6 at Jacksonville, that's a loss. Week 7 against the Giants at home, that's a win. Week 8 at Chargers. Actually, Week 9. They have a bye week in Week 8. Week 9 at the Chargers. That's a loss. That's 3-5. Week 10 at Cleveland. That's a win. 4-5. Week 11 against the Colts at home. That's a win. They'll be 500. Week 12 against the Ravens at home. That's a loss. 5-6. Week 13 at Pittsburgh. That's a loss. 5-7. Week 14 at Washington. That's a win. That's 6-7. Week 15 against Jacksonville. That's a win. 7-7. Week 16 at Philadelphia. Loss. 7-8. Week 17 at Green Bay. That's a loss. 7-9. And Week 18, Texans against the Titans at home. That's a loss. So Texans will go 7-10. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. I think Houston's depth will be tested. They're not going to make the playoffs, unfortunately. They're going to go 7-10 this year. I think Texans' offense is still going to be worse. The defense is still going to be fine, but the close games, the injuries, and all that stuff, I just don't trust the Texans to get back to the playoffs this year. So we'll see how that is going to go here. All right, let's move on from that. All right, so we did have breaking news several days ago. The Wizards star Trae Young expect to decline $49 million option with the Wizards, which means he is declaring an unrestricted free agent. He'll sign anywhere. But the good news is, according to ESPN and Brian Woodhorse says Trae Young is still expect to re-sign with the Wizards. Don't know. However, so if he wants to re-sign him, it will not be a 5-year deal. However, he could restructure his own contract. He can sign a 2-year contract or a 3-year deal. Working with Anthony Davis is not going to be a quiet option, But Anthony Davis, if he stays with the Wizards, playing with Trae Young and Anthony Davis playing together, that would be nice. But I don't know. I don't know how this assets is going to work. So, the Wizards are currently the number 1 pick in this NBA draft. I wasn't going to say that, but we'll get to that in our next segment. So, there's a lot going on. So, with Trae Young, he joined the NBA in 2018. He spent 7.5 seasons with the Hawks. And he spent a quarter of the season with the Wizards. So he spent 8 total seasons in the NBA. And Trae Young, this will be his 9th season in the NBA. He spent 7.5 seasons with the Hawks. He spent like 4 or 5 months. He spent 3 months he spent like 4 months with the Washington Wizards. So Trae Young only played 5 games with the Wizards. So he averaged 15 points a game and 6 assists a game with 5 appearances with the Wizards. So we don't have a serious production. The Wizards don't have any serious good production other than Alex Sarr. But Wizards' future is bright despite the fact the Wizards have the number 1 pick. They're gonna draft someone, and hopefully the Wizards will be better the next 5 years or so. I mean, no one's gonna have their understandings than anybody because of that. And I guess it's a good story. Because of that, you're gonna struggle some. We already know that. So Trae Young does not re-sign with the team. Where Trae Young will be going? Is it going to be the Heat, the Mavericks, that where he drafted at initially? Should they bring him back, or should they go to Pistons? They need a guard play or something. The Nets need a guard play. Or should the Suns pairing up with Devin Booker? Or Houston could bring Trae Young to work with Kevin Durant. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. All right, so NBA draft is 5 days away. Correction, 4 days away. NBA draft is 4 days away. So first round is June 23rd on ESPN ABC in the NBA draft. Second round on June 24th will be on ESPN straight up. So Wizards have the number one pick of this NBA draft. So there's some chaos. So would it be AJ Dibansta? Would it be Darren Peterson? So far, Dibansta is the favorite to be the number one pick. Rest of these number one pick contenders, Cameron Bruiser, he won't be the number one pick for sure, but right now, the odds are in favor of Dibansta because it feels like Wizards just need a star power. They need a star power. They need a A+ potential. They need like a almost Victor Wembanyama type size. They need a young future. They need a young talent. They need a bigger help. Uh, it's gonna be critical. I think he's a good all-around player. He's a great defender. He can block a lot of shots. He can dunk a lot as well. But is he a great shooter at times? No. He's not a great shooter, but he always learning about the winning success when it matters most. I think Dibansta has a chance to be the number one pick. And then Darren Peterson, he will be top 3 pick of the NBA draft. He won't be number 1. He could be number 2 or number 3. Likely number 3. Jazz has the number 2 pick and Grizzlies has the number 3 pick. So I think Darren Pearson could go to the Grizzlies. I think that should help their cause. And then Jazz will probably draft Cameron Boozer. Remember, Carlos Boozer used to play with the Jazz. Should the Jazz draft Cameron Boozer? I think the Jazz are going to draft Cameron Boozer. That would be a cool moment because Carlos Boozer used to play with the Jazz. So if the Jazz drafted Cameron Boozer, this would be the first father-son in franchise history. But he was drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Carlos Boozer was drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2002. But he played with the Jazz later in his career. But Cameron Boozer, if he's drafted by the Jazz, This will be the first time in franchise history it'll be the father-son who played with the Jazz for over 15 years apart. So that was a cool moment. Bronny and LeBron did it a few years ago. They were teammates, by the way. LeBron James and Bronny James. It was Los Angeles Lakers, but this time, former player Carlos Boozer played with the Jazz, and then his son Cameron Boozer could be drafted to Utah Jazz. Jazz has the number 2 pick in this NBA draft. So Don Bandston will be number 1, Boozer will be number 2, and then Patterson, I think Peterson or Patterson, with the number 3 pick. And that's how it's going to work in this one here. All right, so first of all, I want to say today is Happy Juneteenth to all the slaveries and African American people. One of the federal holidays in the United States. Celebrating Juneteenth. It's about the African American jubilant, the society, the justice, and their passion. So in the bottom of my heart, I would say Happy Juneteenth for all the African American people across the America. But handful of things who lost their lives and all that stuff going on. It's good to hear. All right, let's wrap up this show. On Monday, I'll preview the NBA draft for the June 23rd first round draft, what's coming up in our next episode. And then also coming up, I'm going to talk about, I want to talk more NFL. And all that stuff. So next week, I'll do 3 days a week. I'll do Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I'm going to do a talk show for 3 days a week next week. And then NBA free agency is approaching. The NBA free agency doesn't start till June 30th. So I'm going to tell notable players who will be UFA. It stands for unrestricted free agent. And where they're going to sign that. So we've seen some big moves in the past. So I'll talk about that on Monday as well. So we're gonna keep it in mind in this one here. All right, man, that's it. This is JDB's Morning Cap. Enjoy your Father's Day weekend, and I will see you on Monday.